We're
Yeah, I
still
think I was
waiting.
looking into it. You guys were like episode 67, so it's been a hot minute since that's
Oh
since
yeah.
then.
Yeah. We did a podcast sometime like I think like 2 weeks ago, or no, it might have been the beginning of like last week. But the guy was like, "Oh, the last time you guys were on, it was like around the same time as this. It was like promoting the three singles ahead of nonfiction, and it was just like it's
Yep.
been 3 years since then. And it's just like 26 then, 29 now. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. Oh gosh. Doesn't never feels like it, but you're like, oh wow. It was a
Yeah,
quick three
yeah.
years.
Especially, yeah. I feel like the past few years have gone by really quick.
Mm,
Where like
yeah.
I've had a couple other people recently that have come back on. Like one guy that was on recently, his episode came out like I think 4 after yours, and it was just like, where is this time fucking gone? Since then, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I feel
Also,
like
too, I think.
everything.
Okay,
Sorry.
Jeff.
Okay, I was just gonna say everything slowed down during COVID, so I feel like it makes sense that like since
Yeah,
then we've been like, oh wow, you know.
Hmm.
yeah, that's
That's
true.
that's really that's what I was gonna say too.
Read your mind.
So my only question for the two of you is, before we get started, the infamous question is: do you have an unopened beverage you'd like to participate in the open and crack with?
I do.
Yes.
Hell yeah, I do as well.
Is that the big wave?
Yes, it is.
So the better version of a Corona, I think personally.
That's fair. If I'm going Mexican beers, I usually go Modelo's over Coronas, anyways. So
Mm,
I could see that.
that's the best
Uh,
tropical one.
but I'll count us down. We'll crack these, and I'll do a little intro. Bring you guys in. We'll just have a good time.
Okay.
All right, in three, two, one. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. Very happy to be reconnecting with these fine folks on this episode. I'm sitting down with All Systems Go. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're doing good. Happy to be here.
Dude, I'm stoked to have you guys back. Like we were kind of talking about before we fully started, you guys were episode 67. That episode came out December 3rd, 2021. It's been a long time since you guys have been on. Like 3 years and a month almost. For people that might have checked out the episode or are familiar with All Systems Go, we were talking about the three singles, like we said, leading up to nonfiction, and it's crazy to see. We're both still doing it. We're both still kicking. We're both still
Mm.
striving, staying alive. So welcome back.
Oh yeah, thank goodness. Going strong.
Such a long time ago.
Yeah, time goes
uh,
fast.
yeah. Before we get into maybe like some catch up on what's happened, can you kind of go around and say who you are and what you do in All Systems Go?
So I'm Matt. I play guitar and I sing.
And I'm Joe, and I play the drums.
And for people that might be new to All Systems Go, you guys are a pop punk mixed with a little bit of rock and roll. Nice, kind of almost unique sound going on, based out of New Jersey. Like I think we talked about it on the last time. Like New Jersey's got this crazy pop punk scene in general,
Mm.
so
Oh yeah.
it's in your guys' water out there for sure. That kind of strives through with everything.
Yeah, that and
Uh,
just having like a rich history of that too.
Yeah, because I mean, like there was that point where I was hitting a bunch of bands from you guys, like tri-state area between like Philly
Mm.
and like and New Jersey, and like just everything that's going on out there is just fucking amazing and so sick. And I don't know how the gods bless New Jersey to be like this pop punk like fucking mecca, but like it's working out so well.
I've
It is.
noticed it too. I don't know if like on Twitter, there's a lot of like DIY like music scene community on there just in general. I don't know if they're aware of how close most of us, like everybody in our scene, 'cause I feel like we're like also like some of the most like super active, like posting all the time type, like just New Jersey, PA, New York, like even like up as like Massachusetts, Maryland and stuff. Like I don't think they realize how like close most of the bands they collectively interact with are. Because
Mm,
it's like, oh, like we'll just be like shit posting with other bands and stuff, just talking back and forth in the comments. And it's like, oh, our friends, our mutual friends are playing a show tonight and we're both going to it too. Like
right.
that's how like close it is, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. There's just so like for people that have there's a whole I want to say like era of the podcast that you guys do, that people should listen to of just like bands that I've sat down with. Obviously, All Systems Go, and I'm going to blank on everyone's names. That when I need them the most, I'm going to blank on everyone's names. But there's just so many
Always.
bands that I've touched through there. It's just I'm always envious of you guys on the East Coast because to do like a weekend run or do any kind of run, it's so easy for you guys to hit so many good cities right
Hmm.
away.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like here in the Midwest, like it's a 6 to 8 hour drive if I want to hit like if we want to route like a weekend run and hit like three different states. It's like
Oh.
so much work.
Mm. I had never thought
Yeah.
about that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah, plus like all four of us working full time, I feel like we've lately the past like year or so we've been using that to our advantage to do more weekenders, and then that way we're able to play more shows in like a lesser amount of time too,
Mm.
and like
Right.
still have like breaks in between.
Yeah, they're still tiring, but like you said, the fact that
Hmm.
everything's so close together is it does help a lot with the planning
Yeah. Uh,
and the
so I
not
mean like
dying.
yeah. Uh, so I mean, like I said, you guys have been on it in a little over 3 years. Last time we talked, nonfiction was coming out. I don't even remember if when we fully talked, if we had even. I know we talked about the singles, but I don't remember if we even had talked that nonfiction was fully coming out at that point. And that came out in 22. For people that are listening, go check it out if you haven't already. But like, what's life been like in these past couple years? I know there's some major things that we'll talk about kind of
Mm.
probably closer to finding closure, but like in general, how's life been like for All Systems Go?
Crazy.
Yes,
So
very crazy.
if we're at December 2021, that means Sunset is out. That means Homecoming is also out, and Don't Let Me Go wasn't out yet at that point.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
which that's
So
become our biggest song, easily our
yeah,
best song.
yeah, for sure. So at that
Free,
point,
don't let me go. Wow.
yeah, we would
Yeah.
have studio time booked in February 2022, and then in April 2022 to finish the album, two separate sessions for the other five tracks. Um, so around the time of us talking last time, we were gonna start playing like a ton of shows in 2022, but then I actually hurt myself in the gym and had to get hernia surgery. So kind of just laid low for the first few months of 2022. But with the singles coming out, like we just used that time for like mostly content and stuff.
Mm.
Don't Let Me Go was the first song that we put out that got like a huge like Spotify algorithm boost. And with that plus the music video, which got a lot of hype around it as well, like I feel like we started like growing from that point on. Um, Studio Time just finished the album up. Like played. I think we only played like one show in that February time frame with like Keep Flying and Don't Panic, and then
mm,
we finished the album. Played a couple shows after that. I was feeling healthy again. Um, a lot of the shows for the rest of the year pre-album were like opening for like bigger bands. Like we played with Goalkeeper and Driveways and Cheer Up Dusty in May.
Mm.
Um, AC Beer Fest in June, where what was it, 4 Years Strong and Newfound Glory were headlining. We were on the acoustic stage. Open for
nice.
Calling All Captains in July in AC. That was another good, like small
Mm.
show. Nonfiction comes out in October 2022. And at that point, like we played our band's 100th show, like right before then, started picking up steam. And then like from the point where nonfiction dropped, I feel like we just started going on this like upward trajectory because then like
Mm.
more people that I feel like haven't been to our shows in a while that like maybe might have come out like when we first started like just started coming back to shows essentially, and a bunch of them have been like showing up like ever since. So where is that? That's October 2022.
Yeah, it was just a big stretch of like, wow, like we haven't played a bad show in a while. Starting
Yeah,
from that point, it was really nice actually.
we had our album release show in a bar slash restaurant that we got our start at, like playing open mics. Like a lot of the South Jersey venues had closed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So like we were gonna play at the venue that we had been playing a bunch, but when they closed, they like shut down like literally within a week, and now the building is a liquor store, which kind of sucks.
Jeez.
Um, but we played like it was like another 100 cap room, but like mostly seating and stuff. But like I remember at one point that like literally there was standing room only, so like 100 something people like filled out the entire bar. Um, awesome show. And then like Joe said, from that point, it was literally just like packed rooms every single time. Like whether that would be like just basements or like another venue that like popped up was our local record store. So we played a couple shows there during that time. 2023 hits, we start doing the weekender type thing where we would either show swap with another band from another area or just like do like our own tours and stuff. April 2023, we played the Stone Pony, and then in Jersey, which if you don't know that venue, that was the venue that Springsteen and Bon Jovi both came up in as local artists.
Mm.
Um, and surprisingly, like that show sold like 400 something tickets, so that was like our biggest. Like we did not expect it to do like as well as it did. Just happened to be a good like 5 bands that could all like pull really well, like locals only basically. Um, so like that was like a high point, I feel like. And then at
Oh
that
yeah.
point we had booked studio time with Gary Cioni, who's in the Long Island hardcore band Crime and Stereo.
Mm.
They're like old Warped Tour, used to open for A Day to Remember, like 4 Year Strong, Newfound, like all those like big bands back in the day. Um, but we had to book studio time um in June of 2023, and we recorded our single The Lowdown, which dropped later that year. Um, and then we were gonna, this is where things kind of take a turn here.
Yeah, yeah.
So we
If I may,
were,
before we turn,
yeah,
I'll fill in some gaps for Matt.
sure.
Ryan from Frosted Green Productions did the "Don't Let Me Go" music video, which is amazing, and he just released our. We just did another music video with him, which is also amazing. Probably not as good as "Don't Let Me Go." He did really good with that one. Uh, and then also that February of 23 was when we did that run up through Connecticut, up to Boston, down through New York. That was a really great experience for us just to do like that was our first big like we're driving a lot
Mm.
weekender.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Everybody was so supportive too. Everybody we met along the run, whether the shows were huge or not, it was just a really good experience.
Yeah,
And
because
then
during this time too,
mm,
I'm seeing like obviously we're still mutuals on Instagram and Matt, I have you on Facebook, so I'm seeing like all these posts of like all these cool shows you guys are doing. I'm seeing the photos from the shows and how genuinely how packed they are, and I'm just like, damn, this they're still killing it. Hell yeah! Like it's nice. Like when you scroll through and you're like, fuck yeah, the dudes are still doing it, and just like one of those nice moments of just like, hell yeah, good job. And like just to see like that blow up after kind of nonfiction, and kind of
mm.
being along for the ride as like a spectator has just been really cool to see. More homies just keep getting that recognition and keep growing.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you. It's been fun too, riding the momentum off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then I got married in July of 23.
Joe did, yeah.
Yes. We kind of took a little break, a couple weeks off. We'd played uh one of those 3 hour sets in Lancaster as the last gig before that, like right before we recorded the Lowdown. Um
Same weekend too.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. It was. That was a fun weekend. But then we're at the turn. Okay, we're caught up, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah. Shit, you know.
Yeah.
So June 2023, we planned probably like maybe like 10 to 12 shows between July and September. We played our county's like Oktoberfest. That's a really big event this past year. We were actually supposed to play it before. Like that was like we had like 12 shows lined up plus that is like, oh, this is gonna be like our biggest show ever, basically. Like we'll bring the whole crew out and stuff like that, and it'll be a good time. Um and at that point, like this was like within like all these shows are coming up like 2 weeks. Like we get to the week before these shows even, I think. And all of a sudden on this like Monday or Tuesday, I get a call and we find out that Dean passes away. And like that like that moment, like everything just like stops. Like I like not even just in terms of the bit, like I can't even emphasize how like time just didn't seem like anything was like real at that point. You
Mm,
know, like like I had a friend ask me this, like after he was like, "Does this is this the first time that you've ever lost somebody not due to old age?" And it was like, "Yeah." And like you just when you've never experienced grief like that before, you learn a lot of things, like both about
mm.
yourself and like just both about life too and
Yeah,
stuff.
like someone you expected to grow old with, you know, and
Yeah.
to look back at those memories with, you know. But um, we all did like we were actually all over the place, and we all got together that day,
Hmm.
just to like spend some time with each other, you know. I started the day crying in a Cracker Barrel in New York State, and ended up driving all the way to Jersey just to be with the guys for a little bit, and the significant others and the whole little ASG crew, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then it was tackling the grieving process kind of together. And I keep saying this, I will keep saying this forever. The local scene was so supportive. Like we got so much love. Um, Dick, who's now our bassist, but at the time was just a friend from another band, was reaching out to all of us individually, like checking in on
Hmm.
us, making sure our mental health was doing okay. You know, we had tons of friends from other bands that showed up to Dean's funeral, which was beautiful. Like it was packed out. Totally what you would expect from someone as awesome of a person as Dean was. You know.
We can talk about this in the lyrics of the one song, but do you know
Mm,
the song I Just Want to Sell Out My Funeral by the Wonder Years?
Yeah.
Dean like the church sat 250 people and they had to kick people out for the mass because there wasn't enough space. Like there literally were not enough seats.
mm,
So like that like and it just didn't seem real, you know? Like it's
yeah.
that whole like month and a half span just didn't seem like it like anything existed because like people like we had people asking us in like the first like few days like, oh, what's gonna happen with the band? And I was just like, I don't know, I don't give a shit. You know,
Right.
like
Mm,
everything, literally
It's
everything
yes.
seems so trivial at that point.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, I was even one of those people of like, when I saw the post that Dean had passed away. One, you know, I'm so happy I got the pleasure to talk with Dean on when you guys
Mm,
did the last episode. It threw me
Hmm.
for a loop. Anytime, whether I'm close with someone or not, but to see like someone I've interacted with that passed away
mm,
so young, it's never easy to see that happen.
yeah.
So I'm happy I got to at least meet Dean and talk with them. But like at the same time, I was like, damn, hopefully those dudes are okay. Like what is going to be the aspect of this band going forward, and because that with it being such a pivotal member, you never know what's going to happen. Whether especially when it happens so soon, you never know if the band's just going to be like, this is it, like we can't move on without this person, which would have been totally understandable.
Mm, yeah.
Or you push on and you kind of do find enclosure, which we'll get to, which we're leading up to,
Mm,
which also makes sense to do with that this run.
mm,
Like I know it's a big hurdle. I've been in similar positions, and I know how tough that shit is. Like
mm.
it's yeah.
Yeah, it was. We all had to take some time just, away from the band. But we rallied eventually, and
We did
Matt
rally.
and his Matt's marketing genius, we put together a release of the lowdown still hadn't come out yet.
Hmm.
And we delayed it, and once we were finally ready, we finally put together and as Matt, I remember Matt saying this in our chat, like this is the last release as the four of us, Matt, Devin, me, and Dean.
Yeah.
So
Gotta make it count.
yeah, we promoted it like that, um, which was good, and we got good reception for that. And then we recruited Dick to come be our new bass player, and November was our first show back at the appropriately at a charity show. So we were coming back for the November charity show, which is an organization that we've now played that show, what, 3 years in a row,
Twice.
twice.
Um, our friend runs it, so like me and
Yeah.
Dev went to the other ones,
Mhm.
Mm.
This year,
like the first
Devin
couple.
and Dick were part of literally running the show this year, so we're very involved with it,
Hmm.
and it's a cause that's important to all of us. So that was nice that was our first show back. But It was definitely a big step. Like I remember a month before trying to practice and just like breaking down, uh,
Yeah.
trying to play through "Don't Let Me Go." It was tough, but we made it through the gig. Uh, Everyone was super supportive still, which is really really great. And then we kind of had the okay, great, where do we go from here? Sort of again a good problem to have, I guess. But we started getting back into gigging a little bit. Uh, Dick had never really played this style of music before, and
Hmm.
he
Yeah.
was, God bless him, he was great. He took everything in stride. He had to do a lot. Him and Matt spent a lot of time together, like a lot of time together, with Matt just training him on pop punk bass and using a pick and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he just
Um,
grew and grew and grew so much, which was awesome to watch. First of all,
Michael,
uh,
did you know the bassist of Parkway Drive used to be like their merch guy or something like that?
No. Well, I guess I don't know what band Dick was in, or if that's what you're leading into.
Yeah, yeah. So like, there's a documentary of the metalcore band Parkway Drive, and like they talk about how they were touring Europe and it was all DIY, so they didn't have any management or anything like promoting them. And it's like their bassist was having a kid, so he had to leave the band, so
Hmm.
they were stuck out there. And the way that they put it in the documentary was we just needed like a friend. We didn't care if he could play bass or not. Like, oh, we could teach him or something like that. And their merch guy that they did merch he did merch for them within like their local Australia shows or whatever, um could just play a few chords on guitar, but they called him. They were like, do you want to be in the band and just come tour with us? And he's like, I've literally never played bass in my life, even though I can like hold a guitar and like kind of play it a little bit. But kind of the same line of thinking. It was like we could have asked, like we could have done what we did when Augie left the band and just like kind of put the word out, we're looking for a new bass player. But like at the time I feel like we needed somebody close to us.
mm,
um, and with Dick, it was like he was in a band that's kind of like punk rock, but has like a little bit of like a 1960s rock and roll edge to it. They were called Jima. They're still playing shows and stuff, but the style that he was playing then versus the style that like our music is was like totally different. He had never played bass at all with a pick. So when him, and Dev sat down, he would try strumming like along with a pick and like kept missing the strings and stuff like that and whatever. Like, and the transformation since then has been like night and day. You never
oh
would have guessed that he had never played with a pick before based on the practice that we had last week.
yeah,
And it was just like, nah, like gut instinct. Like we have to go with somebody who's like close to us. Cause like we've only ever had people that are close to us in our band, you know?
Right.
mm, yeah. And then we started the next February-ish, or I forget what exactly that was. We did our first run like south. We went down and we partnered up with Statements.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Amazing band, amazing dudes. That was so much fun driving around everywhere with them. But we did Virginia, uh, Baltimore, and then we drove up and we did a Philly show. Or was that Jersey? Jersey,
It was
right?
both
Both. Yeah, we did Philly,
Saturday,
Jersey.
Sunday.
Yeah, and that was so much fun. And we got Dick into the that was Dick's first like crazy weekender of driving everywhere, and he got that experience. And the rest of us were like, yeah, it stinks, but it's fun.
Mm.
So that was good. And then we played some shows with Headways in Lancaster too. We had a bunch of nice little team up weekenders into what is that? The beginning of 2024 now, right?
We're like halfway through 2024 now. We're almost
Yeah,
caught up.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Third tour was with Sounds and Scenarios. Their band doesn't exist anymore, which kind of sucks. They were really good. They were from Boston. So we did another like northbound run. Um, and then we get to recording Finding Closure in July.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, one, thank you for sending Finding Closure ahead of time for me to check out. Like it's been great to listen to. And then when you kind of sit back and you get to your like fourth take of listening to it, and you start realizing the lyrics you're singing along to, uh, like it hits on a whole nother level. Like
Yeah.
Finding Closure, it's a perfect title for these four songs as a
Yeah.
collective. Like
Thank you.
it does really well.
Good to hear that because
For,
we struggled with that a lot. We were like, what are we gonna
We
call
did.
this?
God.
what were some of like the other ideas that you guys were floating around besides finding closure?
I
Because I
wonder
know
if
Oh
it.
God.
it is very difficult to come up with like one just a song title, but something a collective title that you would call an EP that gets the right message across.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna see
So
if
it
I'm
was
gonna see if
like,
I
do
can
you go
find it
for
on my phone.
something deep? Do we just say like, do we just put it out there like grief, suffering? Do we, it was tough. And Matt and Devin threw out a lot of different ideas before
Oh,
we
we
finally settled on it.
Devin is 4 for 4 on naming our records. By the way,
Yeah.
he always comes up with the
Um,
best titles.
he basically
So
told us like it's going to be called Finding Closure, but Matt, keep going, and we'll see from
yeah,
there.
the other record names that we had, I just found it on my phone. My idea, smile like you mean it. Um, fixing things, and then Dev said reparations and a hard pill to swallow. I don't really like so like a hard pill to swallow is like a known like saying like I never found that like to be like the vibe with our band
Hmm.
like I know
Yeah,
pop punk bands do that a lot, especially with like EPs, like you find a lot in like the early 2000s and stuff like that, but it's just like I've never felt that was like all systems goes vibe.
Hmm.
right. Because
But
you
it's
guys, I mean, if people look at like your song titles and stuff like that, even going back, like you guys, I think I might have even brought this up on the last episode. You guys are still doing some of like the longer song titles, like kind of funnier ones. And
mhm.
obviously they're peppered in with like the shorter song titles in there, but like yeah, definitely not. Hard Pill to Swallow is definitely not all systems go vibes.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
I think of you guys,
exactly.
It's the same like logic as like for us like with the artwork too. Like um I've always thought of our band as an illustration type band as opposed to like a photograph like
Mm.
as like an album art type thing.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I think Finding Closure was a good way. It's like it's we're putting sort of a positive frame onto all of this a little bit. Not that it was still a hard experience for all of us, but to come out of it and write about like rah or like fixing things or like to think of it as that journey of finding closure in a more positive light, I think
Yeah.
was important to all of us too, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah. So
100%.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
We're honoring
and
Dean's legacy as much as we're like just keeping the band going,
yeah,
So to frame that positively was important to us too.
Hmm.
and I mean at the time it's recording, you know, we're about a month from the official release, 19th to 19th. No, today's the 16th. Sorry, about a month still, month and
Yeah.
like 3 days. But you've had one song out already, and I don't want to butcher the name, and I have it up on my other screen. Uh, and it came out. You guys dropped it on the second. It's called "Everything Going Well Is a Bad Thing," right? And I mean, seeing the traction that that's had so far too,
Oh
that's
my
been doing
God.
pretty well. Like, I mean, again, you know, we're friends, so I see your post talking about it. But then, you know, when
Mm.
you go and look at it, you see the numbers for yourself. Like, how does it feel to have one single out for this new EP
Mm.
and it already be doing like people are already connecting with it or listening to it a bunch of times? Because I think right now it's at 4,700 streams. Like that's in a couple weeks. That's a pretty good turnaround.
That's like for all of our other songs, like it's taken like months to like a year plus to hit like that number, and it's just like almost 5,000 in 2 weeks is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I have the artist analytics app for Spotify, and like a lot of that is just the app just throwing it into the algorithm. Like, I guess we must have done something different this time around, but
Yeah.
like,
Matt discovered TikTok. That's what happened.
yeah, we were saying that might be part of it too, because I've noticed like it kind of seems like the bigger of a carbon footprint that we create with the song, like it maybe that has something to do with it. I've been watching a lot of um Jesse Cannon. He's like a music marketing nerd on YouTube. He was
Mhm.
actually Nick from Man Overboard's mentor like early on like in their
Okay.
career too. So like he's like managed a ton of bands, he's recorded a ton of bands, and now he
Mhm.
just does like music marketing full time. And it's like he always does this video that's like a 60-day plan for like a single type thing. And it like I was like, you know what? Like I know I've kind of like been like about his like advice and stuff before just because it seems like a lot of work, but he says that in his videos too. He's like most of you guys are just gonna say like, oh, this is way too much work, and it's like, you know what, like we put our heart and soul into like these 4 songs. Like I can say
Mhm.
that with pure confidence more so than anything we've ever written before,
Mhm.
like in the way like we got them done in the studio and everything, and it's just like you know what, might as well just go for broke on this one and just try to push him as much as possible. And so far it's paying off.
Mm.
Yeah, it's great to see, and I hope when the rest of this comes out, people find the rest of these songs as well, or like the algorithm helps in any way, and like people check them out and like they connect with them how they've connected so far with just the one single, because the rest of these songs, like, I mean, by the time this episode comes out, everyone will have heard it all multiple times, but you know, people don't know what's coming yet. Is basically what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like they aren't at this moment in time. They aren't ready.
They are not
we're
ready.
excited.
I know, like, obviously on this record, we're gonna have, you know, I'm trying to think of how I want to start talking about this. If I want to dive right into it. Okay, so like I said, it's 4 songs, and they all kind of have a different take on a different closure standpoint. Obviously, like there's the song kind of talking about karma, which I loved the "Hey, Mr. Crabman," perfect reference, and
All Devin.
the
Yep.
That's
the best dude to name a song after. I
Yeah,
always loved just
he had us all watch that episode while we were in the studio because
Yeah,
the rest of us had never really seen it before, so that was a fun band bonding experience.
pilot episode for My Name Is Earl.
such a good show. Sucks how it ended because it ends off on that cliffhanger. Fuck the whatever. I can't remember what service it was on.
Whatever network, yeah.
Yeah, fuck them. But it's a great song for the karma feels. And then we have a song talking about kind of having the the ending of a relationship. I loved how I loved the little excerpts that you kind of sent me with, like, behind the scenes stuff of really tying things together of don't forget me when you're famous, instead of just saying, hey, this is over type deal, and like just being so just a terrible way to end a relationship on that note, it feels like.
It was worse than that, but like in terms of like what was said and what wasn't said, but like, it's not in my nature to write like a fuck you song with fuck you lyrics in it. So like the sarcastic title was the best that I could do in that sense.
And a good sarcastic title it is. We like it.
Yeah. And then we end off this record, to kind of go back to Dean. Like you end off the record with a song dedicated to Dean, that I think is done very well, and hopefully he would love it if he got the chance to hear it. Like it's one thing to put pen to paper about something that you're so close to. I know I have one friend that, when a mutual friend of ours had passed away, he was writing a song, and it took a while to find the right voice for it to fully come out. And I feel like this was done very, very well to commemorate Dean.
Thanks.
Yeah, Matt did an awesome job. Like, I know I tried and it just wasn't, like you said, it's so difficult to approach. And Matt just found the right words for it, and the right context. And I think it really works well.
Yeah, I had to rewrite that for that one we had the instrumental done like long before any of the lyrics were done, and it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, when we start writing this, like whatever we write next, like long before we even like put the songs together and knew that these would be the 4 songs that we were recording, we were like, we do want to do a song for Dean, but it can't be like staged, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing this just to do it or whatever. But we had that instrumental done like around the time that we recorded the Lowdown. And it was one of those things where it was like, the more we listen to this, it sounds like this should be the song. Like, and then like trying to write lyrics to like kind of fit that, with the idea of like, oh, it has to sound perfect. It has to sound not forced, but not just from like a musicality perspective, like from like, oh, like this is for Dean,
Mm-hmm.
like it has to be like we have to be proud of it too when we're done with it. Um, kind of
Yeah,
like
Gary
everything.
put it.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say Gary put it best. He said, "So this song is your letter to Dean," and we're like, "Yeah, pretty much."
Yeah. About writing the lyrics. With this song, I kind of discovered that it was like I write lyrics like there's two ways of doing it. So like everything going well is like the opposite way of survivor's guilt. You can write lyrics kind of chronologically in such a sense where it's like the first verse starts a story, the chorus is about the whole story, second verse continues the story, bridge continues the story, whatever, and it's like from start to finish kind of thing. Or you can just write how you feel and spread it out across the whole song. I tried to write the lyrics about like the last time I saw Dean, which to me is like that day in and of itself is like worse than the day that we found out, like going to his funeral and stuff like that, because it was like, that was our last chance to like be able to say something to him and we just didn't
Mm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I tried to tell a story from that point of view, and all of it seemed forced. All of it was just like, oh, this sounds like it's trying to be a song and it just isn't, kind of thing.
Mm.
So like rewrote the lyrics like three separate times, and then it was like, like none of this is working out. And then Devin wrote lyrics which I didn't think fit at all, so I kind of like just blew them off a little bit. But in the end, it was kind of like, oh, it's because we all process guilt differently. I feel like,
Mm.
or not guilt,
Mhm.
grief. Um, we process grief differently, and like what he had didn't really fit to what I was thinking. And then I did have a chorus that I wanted to use with the first like couple lines in there, but there was like a metaphor in there about like where it changes into like the second half, like where the da 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 da, where that high part comes in. There was like a metaphor that had extra words in it that was like, oh, you should have let us know that you thought the sky was falling or something like that. And then one day randomly Dev was like, um, the melody for the chorus shouldn't be all like up and down, all these words, all these words. It should just be like da 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 da. So I'm like, you know what? Cut half of those words out in the chorus and just make them like get to the point in such a way where it's like we wish you said you felt this way or whatever, like whatever it is now. And then for some reason, just hearing that chorus in context, it was like, that's it. Rest of the entire song wrote in like a day. And like
Mm.
it just all came out. Like that long verse in the middle sounds like I'm just like rambling a little bit. And that's just because it was literally just pen to paper, just like, no, this day, like your funeral was just like one of the worst experiences ever. Like it was beautiful, but like from an emotional standpoint, like it was so hard to go through all this. And it was just words, 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 to the point where it was just like, I love all of this and where this is going, and I can hear it in my head now, but like now we have to
Mm.
cut down on what's being said. Um, and Gary actually said when we were recording it in the studio, we did like the scratch track together, like as we do like to the metronome and stuff, um, to do pre-pro. And then he was like Joe said, like it's your guys' letter to Dean. He was like, from a producer standpoint, purely from a producer standpoint, this song has too many words to it. There's too much going on. It sounds jumbled. It like the structure doesn't work or whatever. And he was like, but everything that's being talked about here is important. So he was like, in terms of pre-pro and like, we could do this, but I personally don't want to touch this whatsoever.
Mm.
And there was one part that he did like cut that guitar line in the middle where it's like da 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 da, or like going into the one verse. There was a breakdown at the end of the song after the last chorus that used that, and he was like, last words of the song, cut it. When the message of the song is done, the song is done.
Mhm.
He's like, fair enough,
Yeah.
yeah. Then we recorded it, and it,
Mm.
it sounds so much better than what we had going into it.
Yeah. I so distinctly remember like the moment of us all sitting in the control room and him listening to the pre-pro track, and I think there was I don't think there was a tension, but I think we were all kind of wondering like, what's he gonna say about this song, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for
And it
sure.
was like and the moment he said like basically like we could change this, but I don't think we can't. We're not going to. It was we were all like, oh, okay, you know.
Utmost respect to
Yeah,
Gary.
yeah, and he yeah that was 100% the right choice. And he's an amazing producer for many more reasons than that. But we're just happy to work with him for those reasons and other reasons. You know, like we just knew we had the
Hmm.
perfect person to work with. Uh, I mentioned on another podcast we were on. Gary came to Dean's funeral, was there, you know, grieving with us, which was really really awesome of him. You know,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, we just it was no doubt we were going to Gary for this, and he handled it so well, and we're so appreciative of him for that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's amazing. Like one that he understood, like that, no matter
Mm.
like what a normal producer would have said, he knew that like he had to be a human being in that moment of just like
Yeah,
this. We
Hmm.
can't change this. This is how it's meant to be, which is really nice of Gary to be able to do that.
exactly. You put what I was saying in so much better words. Thank you. That's
Um,
100%.
okay. One other well, cool thing in finding closure is obviously like we've kind of mentioned, and he's not here on the podcast tonight. But Dick, who's the newest member, he actually helped write a song for the new EP. With Dick coming in, and he wrote song number 3, which Empty Hearts and Open Regrets for people listening. Um, did that with him coming in and like bringing the song to you guys, like how does that change like the normal dynamic of like how you guys normally process and like would come up and like structure and write a song? Like did it kind of throw you for a loop of like him having this already or bringing this to the table? Did it like kind of not necessarily like deter is not the right word, but like just kind of have to give you guys like a kind of like a reset of going into like that song process?
Yeah, for sure. So, um, Joe lives 2 hours away from us, so he wasn't around for like this part of like pre-studio. But like so just preface that this was the first time that we didn't have all the songs fully done until like right before we went into the studio. Most of the time we had them done like months in advance and we played them at shows like all the time and stuff at that point. Um, so I feel like when we've scrapped more stuff than we've ever actually like worked on, kind of like just always as a band. We've never been the type of band to have like an infinite amount of material and we have to kind of narrow it down. Um, so probably in like July or June, Empty Hearts only had like the bass part and just the verse and the bass the chord progression for the chorus. Um, and Dick also has like a different like a pre like um listens to different music than we do. He's more of like a jazz funk type. Would rather like kind of jam than like learn covers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a different like dynamic just overall in our band that was like new for us. Um, and him trying to find his place with us kind of thing, like I think part of the way that you phrased the question was like, did that change like how we went about like writing songs? I feel like it kind of did because we put that in the demo folder, and to be honest, with what we had at the very beginning of that, I kind of like I try not to just like be like, oh, we're only like working on my songs and stuff, but I feel like we collectively know what we sound like to the point where it's like no matter who writes it, whenever it ends up in the folder and we find that we can't stop listening to it, then that's like okay, we're gonna work on this more and stuff. Dick kept like
Mm.
kind of pushing that in the folder, like we're gonna work on this today, we're gonna work on this today. Um, but the more that we went back to it, the more we heard it and the way that it sounds now. And by the time that we were like prepping, like there was supposed to be another song on the EP that we just didn't get to that was more like hardcore type, like a little bit of beat down, like had like a
Mm-hmm.
breakdown in it and stuff, and it just didn't really fit well. Like it definitely wouldn't have
Mm.
fit well if we did record it with like the rest of the EP. We were planning to work on that and like record that, but we just didn't finish it. But
Yeah, Dick's idea just works so much better
yeah,
with. Yeah.
those last like it went from being like oh, I don't want to like say in like a bitter way like know your place in the band, but like I don't know if we're gonna be able to work on this. We got the songs that seem like they're more done than this one. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before studio time, we have me, him, and Dev sitting in my living room up like with my speakers tracking this song. Like it came together like that. Like
Yeah.
he had the lyrics for it. Dev came up with a melody for it that at first he was kind of like, and then like all of a sudden, like a couple days later, it's like, no, this is an All Systems Go song. And in the
Mm.
studio, we changed like absolutely nothing about it either. Gary was just like, this is fine.
Mm.
And like I feel like we like that song and Crabman we also kind of worked on at the last second too. Like that kind of made us more in the zone in the studio, I feel like, because like we're
Mm.
still in that creative process of the songs kind of still like being fleshed out. And we're hearing it come to life in real time, more in real time because it's not done yet.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
worked out way better than expected. We played it live a couple times at shows and people seem to love it. So
Mm. Yeah. And we really do, like Matt said, we all kind of have that idea of what our band sounds like. Like when I was writing a song for nonfiction, I was literally like, how do I make this sound like our last album, but something different, you know? We all kind of have that understanding. I think Dick even maybe came with even more of an understanding than we thought because he was like a fan of us first, you know? He would just like listen to our music just as a fan before he actually came and joined the band. Uh, so he really knew what All Systems Go sounded like, you know, even
mhm.
from outside of the band perspective. So he had it, and also he just writes bass licks like all the time, even when we're practicing. So to think that Dick would not have written something for this album would that would no way. Like he was going to write something, you know.
Yeah.
Loves being part of that
Uh,
process, which is awesome, and we love having him. But any group of people is going to be a little different, you know.
right.
So, but it's been really cool learning this learning how this lineup of All Systems Go sort of works together, you know.
New norm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, speaking of like the new basically chapter in the All Systems Go story, like obviously Finding Closure is going to be out. Like what does the kind of future look like, or like 2025 looking like for this version of All Systems Go?
In terms of so last year, um, I feel like something that we want to do this year is kind of utilize our time a little bit better because 2023 and 2022, something I noticed was we were playing like once every few weeks, whether that be like a full weekend or just like a one-off show here or there by us, by Joe, by like wherever. Um, and in 2023, we reserved studio time for July, and because the songs weren't done, we were like, you know what, we're not going to play as much in the summer to finish the songs up and just focus on that for a few weeks. Um, but coming out of the studio, we didn't like really book anything. So like there was like a couple stretches last year where a couple months went by where we just didn't play at all. And at that point, it's like, going to other shows, really want to play shows soon, kind of thing. So far, like I ran this by the guys where it's like, we've always had like a busy fall because Joe does like aside from teaching, he directs like a high school marching band on the weekends. So like there's a stretch of time where like we just don't play shows.
Mm.
But it's like always been like that, so we're just used to it. I had mentioned if we're going back in the studio this year at all for anything, we should wait until that time because that won't take that long and it won't take that much time. And with this new EP, I think we should be playing as many shows as we possibly can for like the bulk of
Mm.
like the front part of 2025, like January to August, basically.
Yeah. Play the EP is pretty much a short synopsis of our plans.
Yeah, we got like 7 shows booked so far between now and the beginning of March. Probably gonna try to hit the road hard during the summer. Not like long, like week long tours or 2 week tours, but just like a lot of weekenders and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
learned.
Sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say we learned very early on that playing like every other weekend just burns you out so quickly.
Yeah.
And we just like one show on a Saturday, and then another show the next Saturday, and then another show the next, and we were just exhausted. So putting everything into those weekenders, not only is it great for like meeting people and like teaming up with other bands and swapping shows and stuff like that, which I believe Nick gave us that idea from the start, which was great
Mhm.
advice. But also it just helped us not burn out,
Yeah.
because by the end it just helps. It just lines up so much better. It just keeps that motivation going when you
Oh,
get a
oh
couple
yeah.
shows, take a little break, couple quick shows, take a little break. Helps a
Like
lot.
I have some friends that like here in the Twin Cities that um they play very regularly in a
Mm,
month. Like you can catch them if you miss them this week, you can probably catch them next week type of deal.
mm.
And to
Good for
me,
them.
I'm
That's
always
awesome. But
like it's awesome
yeah, yeah,
that there's all that going on, but I'm like, dude, how
mm,
do you guys not burn yourselves out? Like just
yeah.
doing like, oh, we got to do this gig this week, or we're doing this, and like here, it's not like always early shows with like the punk community. It's usually like the show starts at like 8. You probably go
Mm,
on at like 9. The show's over at like 10:30, 11. It's like, dude, I can't
mm.
fucking do that. I'm like 32 at this point. Like I've already passed my bedtime at 7:30 half the time. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
like it's crazy that they're doing that, and like to figure that out for you guys of just like, okay, we're going on the road, we're going to do this. Wait a little bit, pick up that momentum a little bit, like build it up, build up the kinetic energy to ready to be to like go out and like do all that. But also, yeah, that networking is kind of what you have to do.
Mm,
Especially, that takes it. This is going to be a great segue. You're going to love this. It takes it more old school of that networking and getting yourself out there compared to like what people are doing nowadays with the internet and like TikTok and like
mhm.
Reels and all this fun
That was a good
stuff.
one.
Yeah.
And I know because we kind of talked about it earlier about how like you guys have been kind of blessed with the Spotify algorithm to kind of get the push, but also the consistency of posting every day. And I remember you had, I think it was a Facebook post or you might have tweeted it of just now understanding TikTok enough to like get some sort of momentum. And obviously, we're recording this episode 3 days before the TikTok ban fully goes into effect. So
Dun,
how
dun,
does
dun.
it feel to like finally kind of learn something and understand it, and then just have it now taken away? Like, what's the next move for? Are you guys gonna go to Reels? I know that's where a lot of people are going. YouTube Shorts. I don't know where what's the backup plan now?
I feel like I've always been like personally like I went to school for marketing. My job is in more like email and text marketing, but like target marketing and stuff like that. So like I've always like that's always kind of been my thing, I feel like. Um
And he does
I
it
feel like
well.
thanks. I feel
You're
like I've
welcome.
always been like social media like kind of savvy. Um I've talked about doing like a guitar covers like YouTube channel like for like a while, but I just haven't like gotten down to it mostly because like busy with the band and stuff like that. But like I feel like I've recently gotten that fulfillment out of like wanting to like lean into that, I guess, and like just kind of like push our stuff with as much like content and stuff as possible and kind of like work on building an audience as opposed to like casually sitting back and just being like, oh, there's people that follow us. We'll post whenever type thing.
Yeah.
Um, with TikTok, Dev had the TikTok account for a while, but just like literally just never used it. Um, and we talked with the band my cousin's girlfriend's house. We played a few shows with them this past year. They're a Philly pop punk band, and they probably put out one of the best EPs
Mm,
last year. All for Love or All for Nothing. If you haven't listened to that, definitely check that out. Um, their one guitar bass player Brian, really good at social media. Super funny dude.
mm.
Like I forget if he actually I don't know if he works in marketing like per se, but like he definitely should. He knows I feel like he knows exactly like how to like get people's attention with that, and like it works so well with the way that their band like works and like carries themselves and promotes themselves and pushes their stuff. Um but they played a show, I went to see it and we like talked afterwards like at length, and he was just like, oh, some stuff works, some stuff doesn't, like, but like we're small bands, so like why not just like experiment with it. um and at one point at the beginning of December it was kind of like partially with like watching, like I said, Jesse Cannon's content of being like, oh, short form video is the part is like the is part of all this, like as much as you say like you don't want to like have to spend all this time doing that, like here's how to do it like effectively type thing. So part of that, taking like Brian's like advice, like experiment, like, okay, we've posted short form content before, probably like 15 to 20 different reels. if we're just starting out with no audience on TikTok, the first thing that we should do is just throw all that out there on some type of regular cadence and just see what happens. And then the third thing that I posted on TikTok at like 3 days into using it, like the first day we used it was when we announced the single. Third thing I posted went viral and currently has like 333,000, 340,000 like plays, and I keep getting constant notifications for it. It's like literally it's Gary making like stupid drum noises and like saying it to Joe. It's just a 7-second clip. It's literally the dumbest thing ever. But like from there it was just like, okay, I know this worked for this post. Let's try something that I didn't try for the first two posts that work for this post that will work, like see if that works for the next one. And then all of a sudden 1,000 views and a lot of comments in the next one. Okay, I see all these bands doing these like, hey, we're this genre, like we're the fans of like Newfound Glory, 4 Years Strong at like we're in like having like clips of us playing at shows or whatever with our song playing in the background. I always thought that those posts kind of get buried, but like we posted the first one, 2,000 views, 20 people followed you, and it's just like, okay, so there is like an audience out there. And then like now on our TikTok, I think we have like close to 300 followers after using it for like a month. Like, and then part of Jesse's um like management like blueprint is posting different things to different platforms, but also not doing it at the same time, like on every single one. He's like, with short form content, it's like its own like space. So you could post like something one day, post it 2 days later on YouTube Shorts, maybe use different hashtags, maybe use a different caption, and just see how it does. And then eventually, like you'll get into this rhythm of just like finding out like what works best for you. I feel like with YouTube Shorts too, that like we're on a good like cadence with that, especially like that we're gonna like with the music video, and like we have content planned that's gonna be like more of that long-term like regular video type stuff. Like I know intersplicing that with the short form content is like a must for like being consistent.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, the band's been going on since 2016, right?
Mhm.
We were building great momentum right before the pandemic. Like we were playing cover shows that paid off our recording, which was great. We were in like a nice little scene there. We were all playing shows together, and then the pandemic hit, and then we just took a turn and diverted into social media, and we recorded some covers like from our houses and spliced them together and threw that up there, and we got some followers from that. So we've definitely faced adversity before, and every time we do, we just go, okay, great, let's do something different. So if TikTok gets banned in 3 days, if you're watching this a month later and it's banned, then we're probably doing something different, and
Yeah.
we're probably figuring it out. So that's kind of been the the pattern, you know.
I mean, that's what you need to do, and like
Mm.
as I'm sitting here saying like that's what you need to do. I'm also the culprit of not doing what needs to be done as someone that's also out on the social platform, because
Yeah.
I do the post like 1 2 times a week, but I'm terrible at trying to like sit down and like make shorts and like splice
It's
these
so
videos
hard.
up. It's
Matt makes it
so
look
hard.
really easy. It's so hard.
It's pretty hard. It's like an activity for me though at this point. Like I
Mm.
thought I would be like, oh, I'm like addicted to my phone or whatever, like spending hours doing that, but like I don't know. I feel like it's opened part of like my brain that wasn't open before.
Mm.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Maybe one day I'll have a bunch of YouTube shorts out there for people to check out.
There
Uh,
you go.
we'll see.
If
The
if
best one I
Matt thinks
did.
of any ideas, we'll send them to you.
Okay, yeah. Give me the scraps and I'll make those
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
The best one I did do kind of recently. I did do it as a YouTube short. I just went and like spliced it and put it on Twitter. But I was sitting down with Carly Cosgrove, and one of the dudes went to go show that like he had finished his drink and like tipped it, and like there was a full like half a swig left and it just like spilled everywhere, and it was the
Oh man.
funniest fucking thing
Yeah.
just to have that fail just recorded. And I was like, I found it the next like when I was doing the edit, so I knew where to go find it. It was a good
Mm.
time. It was great.
Oh gosh, that's a great
Uh,
clip. So sad, but funny clip
yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
yeah, hilarious.
Straight shit posting.
But I know we've kind of jumped around a lot, talking about getting caught up on All Systems Go since the last time the listeners have heard you on the podcast, not seen you on the podcast. It'll be the first time they've seen you on the podcast, and getting caught up, talking closure, finding closure. Sorry, and some TikTok and what people should be possibly doing in their online lives to kind of get seen out there. But is there anything I might have missed between All Systems Go and Finding Closure that you want the people to know about before we start to transition?
Hmm. I think aside from like, I think you asked us about how like the single momentum is like making us feel about like the EP. I will say just, and hopefully like anybody listening took this from this discussion, like keeping into account the fact that, like I said before, we were like kind of in the zone in the studio with these songs, both like emotionally, lyrically, like just like musically, whatever. Like the momentum of the single right now, obviously excited for the EP, but like I feel like the messages on the other songs are just as important as the message that's in the single. So for that reason, like more excited and hopefully like people will take like the right messages out from the rest of the songs.
Yeah, 100%. Like I
Mm.
said, people have listened to the one single. They definitely are not ready for the rest of these, the other three to come out when they finally listen to them. Like it's a solid EP all around, but they're the messages that are in there and like the stories that are in there do really well and shine very well through. So I hope everyone finds the rest of this EP when it drops and connects with it just as much as they have with the first single.
Mm. Thank you. We're very excited to play it.
That too.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, everyone gets to see you play. I know you guys have an announcement tomorrow. Time's a construct. By the time this comes out, it's already been
Yeah.
announced that people can look forward to. But as we start to transition, this is obviously beers with bands. You don't have to be drinking all these episodes because I'll definitely do that for you. But I know the two of you have some fine beverages in front of you on this fine Thursday night.
Mm.
What are y'all drinking tonight?
I am drinking a Trogs Graffiti Highway IPA. I believe this is new.
Mm.
It's a 6% IPA. Um, for anybody who doesn't know, Graffiti Highway is it's like a site, like a tourist attraction, I guess, in central PA. There's a town kind of like out by where I went to college, in the middle of Pennsylvania, called Centralia,
Mm.
and they're known for like it's in the
Is
coal
it
region
the
of
is it like the highway to hell? Because it does that road lead to like the town that's still kind of burning in
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania?
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's like
Yep.
a in like the 60s or the 50s or something like that, there was like a mine fire and it basically like made the town kind of like toxic or like smoke filled or something like that. But the fire is apparently still burning and has been burning since, just underground somewhere. Um, so the town was abandoned over time, and I think it's like the inspiration for like either like the Silent Hill movie or like the game or something like that.
Mm,
But one of the old roads that was like the main highway that went through there was abandoned. So over time, people just graffitied the hell out of it, and now it's like a sightseeing spot in PA,
yeah.
middle of nowhere, PA.
Oh yeah. That's awesome that
Mm.
they named the that line after that
Oh
road.
yeah. I also love me some Trogs, but mine is not nearly as interesting as Matt's. I went out and just grabbed good old Yingling Lager. Devin
Nice.
introduced me to Yingling at a gig. He said, "It's always cheap and it's good, and you should try it." And I did. And I was like, "Wow, this is great." So shout out to Devin.
Also Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also Pennsylvania. We
And for
make
the
good
longest
beer.
time, yeah, for the longest time, it wouldn't go past like West Pennsylvania. Like it
Mm.
stopped at the border of Pennsylvania. Because I remember one time, I
Yeah.
think I was driving through, or me and a buddy were driving through, and his stepdad was like, "Oh, if you're gonna be like near there, you should stop and get a couple cases because I haven't had it in X amount of time, and we can't get it here." But
Wow.
I think since then it's kind of gone across the borders, and
Mm.
now you can buy it in a few different spots now.
No, that's good. It's great. It's everywhere here. It's kind of awesome, but
Yeah.
we don't know how lucky we are.
Right. And for this episode, I'm drinking some Kona Big Waves
Hell yeah.
because I bought them at one point, and then they've just been sitting in the fridge. And I've grabbed for the past few episodes, kept grabbing the hams, which nothing wrong with hams, and then some some Castle Cream ales from a local brewery here, and then I've opened the beer fridge today before this episode. I was like, I got like a full case of Konas in here. I need to start drinking these because I have Modelo's I need to go in the fridge here shortly. So gotta think ahead. And a full 30 rack of hams that is still sitting out that hasn't gone in the fridge.
That was the binge drink beer in college for me.
Well, my freshman year was Keystones.
Never really got into Keystones. Like
It's pretty much water. It's like
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in
gosh.
college, like for cross country and track team, so we had like our own like party house and stuff like that too. First like beer that I had was out of a keg of Lion's Head, and then I remember
Okay.
the second beer that was like the following weekend was like the first like, oh, let's get a case of something beer was Hams, and that just ended up being like the cheap like watery, just drink as many as you can for like the rest of college beer. And then like at some point in like those first few weekends, I remember having like a Yingling for the first time and being like, oh, this is like so much better than the other ones.
Mm.
Yeah, we did Keystone all the time, and I remember one time, uh, just to feel cooler than the rest of the guys that had always kept just buying Keystones. I had someone buy me like a case of Bud Light, and I was like, at least like mine's like more well known, like
Yeah.
it tastes better. And like looking back, I'm just like, man, I drink shitty beer now, but like I can't handle. There's no way I could handle going back that
Oh gosh.
Do you ever drink
like
Schaefer Light?
no.
Oh, that's even worse. I think like a 6 pack of it in PA is like $4.
Oh my god,
It's
That's
terrible.
crazy. I'm so
dude.
picky. I could never do that.
There's a grocery store. I have a friend that works at a grocery store in Iowa that is like a chain in Iowa where I grew up, and their location is selling. I can't remember what the other beer was, but they were selling 12 packs of PBR for like $5.99, which is amazing. That's such a steal.
That's
Mm.
Yeah, like go export that back to or go like import that back from Iowa to New Jersey.
Right.
Pop punk of beers, baby.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Part of me was like, maybe I should take a road trip today to skip work, just go down
There
there
you
and
go.
get it.
Yeah,
Uh, but that's the big beer segment for this episode. I know we've kind of
yeah.
started talking about some stories. Obviously, this is where we start talking about some fun stories that we might not have heard since the last time you've been on, whether they're shows, tours, time recording. Obviously, you guys been on the road a little bit more. As I normally say, they can be anything horrendous or tremendous or any adjective in between. Think about the stories you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are usually the ones that everyone loves to hear, or at least I love to hear. So what wild shenanigans have you guys been up to on the road since the last time we chatted?
That's a long time to be looking back.
It is.
Um,
The first thing that pops up to me is a slice of pizza at like midnight in New York City that was like $2 after after one of our gigs with Ryan from Frosted Green Productions again. That was
I mean,
pretty fun.
that sounds amazing, and like the only place that you can actually get like a slice at that time.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
exactly, exactly. That was good. And then this is not a good story. This is just me embarrassing myself. But when we toured with Statements, Drew, their guitar player, let us sleep over his house, which was super nice of him when we were down there. And after we played the gig, we stayed up until it had to be 3 in the morning, just like talking. And it was so much fun. I loved every second of it. But for the last like 45 minutes, I swear I was like falling asleep on his kitchen table and waking up and trying to stay awake like so hard, but I just could not keep my eyes open. And I was probably like not very fun for those 45 minutes. But the whole experience was great. And I wish I could have stayed up for been stayed up a little longer for that, but it was a good time.
I feel like that happens every time though.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember one time we stayed at our friend's house in Virginia, and like
Mm.
we didn't have a show that day, so like we roll in. By the time we got there, it was kind of like evening ish, and then we were just like, all right, well, game on, and then like started drinking and like and doing all our things,
Mm.
um, and like just slowly like people would just kind of like start to disappear and like find a room to just go like pass out.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the experience.
Joe, what you just said kind of got me thinking about like brain fog while touring.
Mm.
I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
I feel like I've gotten better at it, but this is one of the reasons why it's like I would never like as much as being in a band is like the greatest thing. Like I would never want to do this full time because I feel like touring would like just basically break me. The
Yeah.
the Statements tour, which I think of the last year was like the funnest like tour that we did. Um, the last day. We did a memorial show for Dean, which was like a matinee, and then me and Dick and a couple of our friends went to one of the Mexican restaurants down the street. And throughout just that conversation of just talking to them, I think at one point I said something and like skipped half of the words in the sentence that I meant to say. Because it was just like
Mm.
touring when you're not used to it, like just because of all the traveling and having to like prepare your
Mm.
body for the set and stuff and just being like just mentally like on top of just singing well and stuff, like it just takes a lot out of your like headspace, I guess.
Mm.
Because I like for that tour specifically, I remember by the last day it was just like I wish I took off from work tomorrow. It was the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday run. And like the Sunday run, like the set, I barely remember it. I just remember being kind of on like an autopilot.
Mm.
And like, um, I
Yeah.
feel like we used to be more rowdy in terms of like, oh, we drink a little bit before we play, but now it's just like we just need to make it through the set.
And then get back safely. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
For
Dick
for
still,
Matt. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Dick still has a little bit of that in him though, because
Oh, he
because
does.
the Grape Room show, the Philly show of that run, that was probably one of the best shows that we played like recently,
Mm.
just in general.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's if you look at our cover photos on our social media, like on our Facebook, it's like the room on you can't see the other side of the bar, but I remember the whole set in the room is just packed from front to back. Um, you can kind of tell from the pictures now because he mentioned it, but Dick was like completely hammered that entire set because he was hanging with him and Devin's wife were just like going for drink the entire night,
Hmm.
and like the grape room is two levels to it. Um, I feel like the upstairs part like isn't really like as like hopping as the downstairs part. It could be, but I've been up there once like just looking up at the top of the stairs, but that was it. Um, I didn't even realize that I didn't see him really that whole night until our set. And apparently when I saw him, he was like, "Yeah, no, I am completely like I'll be fine for the set, but like it's late and I've had a lot of alcohol. I don't have that in me anymore."
Oh no. It's yeah, it's a lot. And then well, more of me falling asleep. In the first Boston run, Matt actually had to take over driving.
Oh
When,
my God, yeah.
when I was just like I was falling asleep. It was so bad. It was like 2 in the morning. We were driving from Connecticut to Boston, right?
Yeah, it wasn't even
To
two in the
sleep.
it was
Yeah.
not 2 in the morning. It
Oh, it
was
wasn't.
we got there at 12:30,
Oh, nice.
but
Even earlier.
the time period between I think like 11:50 and 12:05 to 12:10, that was the longest 20 minutes possible because
Oh yeah.
Joe started falling asleep. Car starts kind of like
Oh
going like
no.
a little
Yeah,
not even
yeah.
like there was no alcohol consumed. This was literally just being tired from like
Oh yeah,
traveling
no,
and stuff
we've
all
100%.
day.
all been there, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
because I know that feeling. Because like there was one night where uh, I don't know why we booked it this way, but like well, I know why we ended up booking it this way, but we played Richmond, Virginia. We were supposed to play Toronto the next night,
Mm.
and that's
Oh.
Woo!
because
Woo!
our New York show fell through, and our friends in Richmond were like, we're doing our album release show. You guys were just at our house the night before. Like, do you want to just play your New Jersey show and then come back? And we're like, cool. So we went back, played that, and then the
Mhm.
plan was, okay. As soon as the show was done and we were all loaded up, I went and passed out in the back of the van. The rest of the guys smoked the last of the weed and then took off driving. Somehow we
Mhm.
took a wrong turn while I was asleep, and we ended up in like driving past like the downtown DC for whatever reason. Don't know how that happened.
Oh.
But I woke up and we were in Pennsylvania, and then I had to take us from Pennsylvania to Toronto.
Mm.
And I had woken up, gone inside the Walmart, kind of woke up, grabbed some food. Another guy woke up. He's like, I'll be awake with you."
Yeah,
That
yeah.
dude passed out right away when we were
Oh.
driving to So
That's
like
the worst.
it's like
Oh.
8 in the morning. I'm already like got shitty
Oh,
sleeping in
man.
a bunk. That dude passes
Yeah.
out. I'm like, okay, who do I fucking talk to now? And I'm just like
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
drive, and then yeah, because I know that feeling of just like
Uh,
it's
trying to
quiet, and
trying
then
to hold on.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I can make it, and then like I just as soon as I hit that first rumble strip, and everyone's kind of like, what? I'm like, next gas station we're pulling over.
Yeah, yeah.
So and so, you're out of that seat. Like, sorry, you got to go
Mm,
sit somewhere else or sleep somewhere else. Uh,
yeah.
so I know what you're going through in that instance. Like that shit sucks,
Mm.
Joe,
especially
did
at night
we?
because it's dark too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We went, what was it? That was from Woodbridge, Connecticut to Boston. Because my college roommate moved out to Boston and works and lives there now. So like anytime we play a Boston show, we stay at his house. Shout out to
Mm.
Pete.
Oh yeah.
But did we pull off at a rest stop? Like, was there like a rest stop on the way that we were just like, okay, here, let's just take a second and breathe real
Uh,
quick?
I think we just pulled over on the side of the street and switched, and you drove, and I passed out immediately. So I was that horrible passenger passenger seat person for the end of that drive.
Oh, because I do remember like me also like almost falling asleep and being
Mm,
like, Joe, like we gotta like okay, like we're 10 minutes away.
mm.
We're 9 minutes away. We're 8 minutes away. Like literally just like I can't do this either.
Yeah, it
Like type
was
vibe
it was rough.
was it. And then like the next day we went into Boston, like explored the city a little bit. And then I remember the show that we were supposed to play was at a venue that does like live music from like 6 all the way to like 2 in the morning. And we had the late show. So like our show didn't start until 10:30. So we went back to my roommate's place and like literally slept from like 6 to like 9:30 or something like
Mm.
that.
And we needed it.
I remember we had played this show in like Fresno, and it was a decent show, and we didn't have a show booked for San Diego because we were unable to find like someone to a show to hop on or get one booked. So
Mm.
our plan was like just kind of start heading back, I think, towards the Midwest. And a band that we played with on the Fresno show was like, "Hey, like we're playing a show tomorrow in San Diego. We can probably get you guys on if you guys want." We're like, "Sounds dope. Not that far of a drive, and then we get to play a show. At least we're playing a show or whatever."
Mm.
We get there and they're like, "Oh, we put you guys in like the headline spot of a show that we weren't originally supposed to play in a bar that three of our members couldn't actually get into." Give me one second, my headphones just died.
Oh man.
And fucking hell. So yeah, they're sitting outside in the bar in the van the entire time. We also got 3 free pitchers of beer, which was tight. So 3 of us got 3 each a pitcher each. And then yeah, we played at like 11:30, and then went and found a Walmart to go pass out in afterwards because we were like, we're stuck in San Diego tonight. So this is
Mhm.
fun.
Oh man. What an experience.
Remember we want to just talk about just crazy stories in general. I feel like with how we mentioned before, like shows being packed and stuff, the some of the best shit we so between the last podcast and now we played like definitely some of the best shows we ever played.
Oh, definitely.
There used to be a house venue in Mount Holly called Gideon's Basement. Josh from the band Tether, even though they no longer exist. They were
R.I.P.
hard, yeah, they were a hardcore band, post-hardcore band from like around where we are. He used to host shows in his basement. And we did a show swap with our friends in the band, the in between. They're like from like Allentown, PA area, or like Bethlehem, PA area. Um, and we didn't expect them to like when they played Jersey with us, we didn't expect them to have like literally everyone who came to the show that we played up by them show up to our show too. So I think like when Gideon's like first went up as like a house venue, people like it was listed as like a 35 to 50 cap venue. That shit was packed from when we played, that was packed from front to back. And I remember during like Homecoming and Don't Let Me Go and like the songs that were like the hits from Nonfiction, it was just like
Mm.
I could not hear myself singing out of the monitor, and the monitor was right there because everyone was just screaming everything back. And it was just like, this is this must be like what it's like, I guess, because a lot of shows during that like early 2023 time were like that too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hell
Oh yeah.
dude.
The best part of that venue was Gideon was the name of the dog, little tiny
Yes.
dog. It was Gideon's basement. But that was a fun show.
Uh, yeah, it is a bummer to see that Tether's not a band anymore. They came on the podcast
Mm.
right around that last release that they did.
Mm.
Good time, but
Mm.
but at least like you've had a solid 2023 and 2024. Obviously, despite a few challenges, but like I'm really stoked to see kind of what the 2025 is going to be for you guys. Because like you guys have, like I said earlier, you guys have a good momentum going on that I know is just going to keep going from here. Whether you switch to reels or not, TikTok's all right. But like,
Yeah.
you got to keep it going. I think you guys will.
Let's see. We've
Appreciate it. Hope so.
this episode comes out on the day of our EP release show, which will be at the Union Firehouse in Mount Holly, New Jersey. So I'll just mention everything that we've probably done up until then or since then, I guess, based on like this release date. January, 2 shows with our friends in Headways, Philly and Lancaster. February opened North Vale's album release show up in North Jersey. I feel like I'm like trying to talk in past tense here, but it's like
time's a construct. It's crazy.
It's coming up, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Debonair Music Hall? The place looks cool. I haven't played there. We'll find out like what it's like. Very excited for that show. And then the EP release show is part of a tour that's happening with both My Cousin's Girlfriend's House and Statements. So we're hitting like Bethlehem area, PA, South Jersey, hometown show, Baltimore, Maryland, and then Washington, D.C. for the first time.
Nice.
So that's the start of our year.
Dude, that's so far. I mean, here to when this episode comes out, like that's already a pretty packed 2025 so far, and that tour is going to be great. Just based on who is all on that little tour package that you guys have going, like
Very excited.
It's solid, in good company, and like I just know, like I said, 2025 is just going to be even like I'm stoked to see what the rest of 2025 looks like if this is just the beginning of it.
Got to keep grinding.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we are too.
This has been a great time catching up on all things you guys and All Systems Go and everything else that's going on. And I don't remember how we ended off the last episode. I probably, when people come on, I should probably make sure I don't ask the same questions. But fuck it. If I did, I did. If I didn't, cool. But I've been liking to end off these episodes on a pretty high note. I probably did ask this question, but from your time in All Systems Go, since all time or since the time that you were last on, like what's been your favorite moment so far that you've gotten to experience being a part of All Systems Go?
I think what I mentioned about the rooms being packed and like people singing our words back to us so loud that like can't even hear myself singing, like that's they're like, to me nothing beats that feeling.
Yeah, and that has been great. I think my top moment was definitely Dean's memorial show, which was just a great like showing of the community coming out to support and honor his memory. We also raised some money for a scholarship fund that's in his name at the high school that he went to, which, oh my gosh, like we got a letter back from the kid that got the scholarship, and just to read that was like, like chills, So to be part of that was just an honor,
I mean, those are that's an amazing moment that you guys took part in that, and I hope to maybe when we do this again in another 3 years or something, to hear what the next highlights are, like the bigger rooms as they keep getting bigger and bigger. Like I said, this has been a great catching up. Everyone, if you haven't already, go listen to All Systems Go. Listen to Finding Closure. If they're coming to your town near you, go listen to that. Go to those shows. Obviously, there's some shows coming up. If anyone's looking for merch, music, or All Systems Go in general, where can they find it?
Merch is under Bandcamp. I feel like we've talked about putting it elsewhere, but I feel like we'll just end up keeping it there anyway. Um, you can find any of our socials at All Systems Go NJ, all one word. And then if you look for us on like streaming, we're not the Canadian punk rock band from the early 2000s. So like when you see like the image of like the guy with the space helmet and like the car in the background, that's not us. It's the four of us.
We're the other one.
Yes.
Well, depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky, or you watch the YouTube version, got to see Matt and Joe's lovely face like I did tonight. Make sure you check the descriptions down below. Follow All Systems Go on all the platforms we are for new music videos, tours, and everything else that they might have up their sleeves. They got a lot of things coming, and I'm really stoked on it. One real quick thing before I fully end, for weekly listeners, the last week's episode I finally announced the lineup for Beers Bands Fest 2. If you're in Minneapolis or going to be in Minneapolis in the NMA, check the link down below. I'll also have tickets there, and come out to it, because if you come out to it, then I keep doing them every year, and then we'll maybe see All Systems Go in Minneapolis at some point, and that could be fucking sick. So come out to it. But that's my little plug. But back to All Systems Go. Thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the pod and catch up with me. Like, this has been a great time.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you. It's been great.
Of course, it's always a good time. Can't wait for round 3. Like I said, everyone go listen to All Systems Go. Check out Fighting Closure, and I'll catch everyone on the next episode. See ya.
Beers with Bears.